right, so it being on or about 6:30, I call the June 24th, 2024 meeting of the Easton Conservation Commission to order. Let's begin, as always, with a roll call vote.
Benson present.
Carol present.
Crossman present.
Beatty present.
Before we go into our first order of business, I just want to acknowledge that Commissioner Rory Caulfels has moved on from the commission. And I just want to say, when I agreed to come on as chair, I think my biggest concern was the size of the shoes that I would have to fill. And it was a huge relief to me to keep Rory here for as long as we did as a commissioner. I think there isn't anyone on this call, commissioner-wise, who, and Jen probably included, who hasn't just seen Rory as a phenomenal mentor and just an example of what it means to be a diligent, fair, and honest commissioner and chair. I've looked to him for guidance. He's been just a mentor through this whole process, and his absence, I think, will be felt not only by the commission, but the town at large. And I just wanted to express on behalf of the commission that I wish Rory and his family the best luck in the next chapter of life.
Very well said.
Thank you.
Thank Rory. So our first order of business, we're going to be, for the members of the audience, we're going to be leaving, going into executive session. Our plan is for that to be about 15 minutes, but I think realistically, we're going to be a little longer than that. So I'm going to make the motion to sort of keep this moving, but a motion to enter executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter C30A, Section 21(6) to discuss strategy with respects to ongoing violations at 5 Jonathan Drive.
Quick question, is this going to be on this same channel?
We got to go to another link.
Whoops.
And that you're coming back into regular session when you're finished.
So Al, one thing I will say is the link is in, if you have it, there's a calendar invite. And additionally, just so you know, we will have quorum when we get over there, even if there's a link problem.
The link's in the agenda too, Al. You should be able to click on it just from there.
Okay, so, all right.
I will try between here and there to email it to you individually as just a standalone link. Would that be helpful?
Yes.
All right, I'll do that now.
Thank you all.
Do you need a second, Ben?
I need a second, then we need a roll call.
Second.
So Carol motion, Spadia second, roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, aye.
Crossman, aye.
Beatty, aye.
All right, be back. All right, so for the sake of time, we have a quorum. So I'm gonna do if we could start with just a roll call, which is me, Carol, present.
Crossman present.
Beatty present.
And when Commissioner Benson rejoins us, I'll announce that. So our first order of business under hearings and possible deliberations is 560 Foundry Street. Notice of intent for the installation of utility poles. The applicant has requested a continuance to the 8/5/24 meeting of the Conservation Commission. Just announcing for the record that Commissioner Benson has rejoined. So our next order of business under hearings and possible deliberations is 9 Benjamin Drive, notice of intent for the installation of a septic system.
You do need a motion to continue 560 Foundry, please.
Thank you. Motion to continue 560 Foundry Street to the August 5th, 2024 meeting of the Conservation Commission.
Crossman second.
Carol motion, Spadia second, roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, aye.
Crossman, aye.
Beatty, aye.
And back to Benjamin Drive. Peter, whenever you're ready.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me, see me? And I think I should have the plan up.
We can hear you, we can see you, and we can see the plans. Thank you.
For the record, Peter Lyons with Collins Civil Engineering Group, representing the homeowner. This is a septic repair on a failed 4-bedroom residential system. Quick overview of the lot. It's just over 2 acres. Most of the site is wetlands. This is at the end of Benjamin Drive on the cul-de-sac, so it's kind of one of your typical cul-de-sac lots that just slopes off into the wetlands at the end. basically our proposal is to. Looks like we're gonna remove the existing septic tank and leaching components and provide a new 1,500 gallon septic tank to a 26 by 30 foot pipe and stone leaching field. Basically, we maximized our separation to the resource on this one while still allowing us enough space to meet the abutter setback requirements and keep this a gravity system. Looking at the contours, the whole site basically flows from east to west down to the wetland. So if we went further east, we would basically be building it into the hill, encounter higher groundwater, and most likely be needing a pump. So this new system is going in existing lawn. It does look like we'll be taking out 2 trees just inside the 100-foot buffer line. It's kind of tough to see on this plan, but the 100-foot line basically cuts the system in half. So the tank is outside of the buffer, the leaching field and some associated grading will be inside the 100, outside the 50. A couple other little things with this. Looking at the western side of the site to the left of the driveway, there's an existing tree line and stone wall. We're proposing 5 conservation posts along the existing tree line and the stone wall. We've updated the note on our plans to show the 4x4 post with the medallion, as well as to be set in concrete. Additionally, down by the wetlands, we have an area of brush and debris to be removed, I'll say between flags 9 and 4, and then a small pocket between wetlands flags 12 and 13 located in the northwestern corner. Erosion control or filter mitt sedimentation control is proposed as 12-inch, being staked looks like every 6 feet. And that's going to basically wrap down gradient of the site access, the leaching field stockpile area, as well as protecting the roadway. There are a couple of catch basins out on Benjamin Drive. We're proposing silt sacks in those for the duration of the project. Proposing contractor, not proposing, but we have note 11 on the plan regarding a pre-construction meeting with the commission. That's my rundown. Any questions from the commission on this?
None from me yet. Challenging site. Thank you. Jennifer, any staff comment here?
I don't have anything to add, thanks.
Yeah, I think my concern that was flagged was just debris and piles, which it sounds like is being well addressed.
Yes.
Comments or questions from members of the commission?
It's good to me.
All right. Any public comment here with regard to 9 Benjamin Drive? Seeing none, Peter, I assume you'd like to close?
Yes, please.
Motion to close the public hearing for 9 Benjamin Drive.
Spady, second.
Carol motion, Spady a second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Spady, aye.
Motion to issue a order of conditions and permit for work for 9 Benjamin Drive.
Spady, second.
Carol motion, Spady a second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Spady, aye.
Thank you.
All right, and I got a couple things later on in the evening. I have 3 COCs.
Okay.
I tend to stick around and hear from those unless you advise me that I don't have to. I think they're all pretty straightforward, but any input on that?
I don't remember which ones you're on. Peter, Jen, do you?
I mean, we don't tell people to be here or not be here, but it looks like the recommendation is to issue all 3.
All right, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
next order, moving on to continued hearings and possible deliberations. Our first order of business under this agenda topic is 40 Prospect Street.
Correct. At the last meeting, you were waiting for a revised plan that has been received. You received the 3 waivers. You have all the documentation you were waiting for to close the hearing.
So I guess is there any public comment? We've had a few meetings here regarding 40 Prospect Street. All right, seeing none, motion to close public comment for 40 Prospect Street.
Crossman second.
Carol motion, Crossman second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, aye.
Spady, aye.
Motion to issue a order of conditions and permit for work for 40 Prospect Street.
Benson, second.
Carol motion, Benson second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, aye.
Spady, aye.
Our next order of business is 718 Washington Street, which is a notice of intent for construction of a commercial building with a new septic system, drainage system, utility driveways, and parking. The applicant here has again requested a continuance to the July 15th meeting. Any board discussion on continuing? Seeing none, motion to continue 718 Washington Street to the July 15th meeting of the Conservation Commission.
Spady, second.
Carol motion, Spady a second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, aye.
Spady, aye.
Perfect. So our next order of business has also requested a continuance. This is the Washington Street to Dickerman Road Mass DOT project. It's my understanding we're still in a peer review process here. And the applicant has requested a continuance to the July 15th, 2024 meeting of the commission. Any board comment on continuing this further? Seeing none, motion to continue the Washington Street project to the July 15th meeting of the Conservation Commission.
Crossman second.
Carol motion, Crossman second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, aye.
Spady, aye.
Our next agenda item is request for an amendment at 16 Goodspeed Lane.
Good evening, can you hear me?
We can
Yes.
hear you, we can see you.
For the record, my name is Scott Rogers from JK Home Engineering, representing the applicant this evening. We were last before you on this particular lot, which is lot 4, also known as 16 Goodspeed, back in December of last year and continued through January of this year. And I'm gonna try to call up my plan if I can. Can you see that?
We cannot yet, we can see the file.
How about now?
No, so they need to be open before you share your screen. So maybe stop sharing and then try again.
All right. How about now?
Not yet.
Yeah, I don't think you went back and shared your screen.
Is it working yet?
Not yet.
I don't know why I'm having a hard time today.
So your PDFs would be open but minimized, and then screen share should show you your,
The plans.
yeah.
So when you click screen share, if they're open, you should actually see it in like a smaller window, the plan you're trying to show.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on here. Can you try sharing it, Jennifer?
I do not have them. Are you at the bottom clicking share screen?
Seems like some progress. I think
There
we
it
got
is.
them.
There we go.
Yep,
Sorry
just
about that.
X out of all tools though, if you would, and then you can enlarge that so we can see it a little better. Please.
That better?
That's better.
All right. So the last time we were before you, like I mentioned, was earlier this year. There was a couple of changes that were made to this particular site. The planning board approved this new house location on April 16th of this year. And then we did make some changes that were requested by the Board of Health, specifically about the septic tank location, which was relocated to the rear of the house. You can see on the plan, the old house location that was approved earlier this year is in red dashed, and the newer house location is in the black and hatched in. The newer house location, the newer house footprint is actually smaller than the original one that was approved. I believe those numbers are on the plan, but it's around from 1,800 to about 1,600, give or take, for the smaller house for this one. The driveway for the garage did get slightly smaller. I'm gonna guess about 50 square feet, not a ton, but did get smaller. In the rear of the house, there was on the old plan that was approved a 10 by 10 deck. This one has a 12 by 12 deck, so the deck did get slightly smaller, slightly larger. As far as the limit of work on the project, the actual shape of the limit of work or the amount of disturbance into the buffer zone did not change, but the grading within that area did change. Specifically, there's some fill by the garage that is new, and then the grading around that septic tank is definitely different from the old plan that was seen by you back in January. And again, that was kind of done to satisfy the Board of Health requirements. Also, the roof infiltration system was relocated in the rear of the property, located closer to the wetland buffer than it was before. So that moved a little bit closer to the wetland. The house itself, the proposed house, is slightly further away from the wetland by about a foot. But the deck would be closer because it's a larger deck. So the deck is a little bit closer than the previous approval. So one of the things that we did do to improve the buffer zone enhancement area, which is in the rear of the site, is we did add some more plantings to that to kind of mitigate some of the changes to the plan. And with that as well, we also included a waiver request form. So with that, I'd like to answer any questions you might have.
Has the infiltration basin moved between the last plan we saw and this plan?
It did, it moved slightly, I guess it would be southeast, a little bit closer to the wetland buffer.
Can you just show me where that is and where it was?
Yep, can you see that cursor?
Yep.
So it's over here. I think before it was a little bit closer to the house and maybe more parallel with the house, but with that new retaining wall there, it kind of had to slide a little bit southeast.
And what is the new grade change in the backyard?
So the grade changes, you can see by the garage, that 120 to 118 slope in there.
Uh-huh.
And then there's some changing in the back by where the deck is and where you can see up here in this location where the septic tank is. Originally, the septic tank was located in the front of the house by the common drive. The Board of Health requested that we move it towards the back. And in doing that, we had to create, a flat area for that tank, and we couldn't have a huge slope like it would have been on a huge slope before. So we had to regrade that and push that slope down into this area right here.
So I guess how much additional fill does that then create?
About 2 to 3 feet of height.
Okay. Across, if you could give me an idea, across how large of an area?
Yep, I'm gonna say about 120 feet.
Okay. And could you just address also the rationale on the plantings and their location?
We had that original buffer zone enhancement planting area there before, which was pretty much in that kind of triangular shaped hatched area, if you will. We had more plantings along the limit of work, which is that southeastern end and along the eastern side, but there was kind of a big gap here in the middle. So we added some high bush blueberry and some sweet pepperbush in that area to kind of fill in that, area that was basically vacant.
I guess how will that, if at all, this is kind of a layman's question, impact the infiltration basin?
They're shrubs. They're located outside the infiltration basin, so it's not like we're putting, oak trees or maple trees
Yeah.
on top of it. It'll affect it with roots. So they're relatively shallow, smaller shrubs that won't affect it.
Okay. Jennifer, any additional staff comment here?
Scott, do you want to point out the no disturbance zone?
Yeah, so the limit of work hasn't changed. You can see it's basically this area along here and this area along here. So the silt sock that was there before did not change. Like I mentioned to you before, there is changes in that area. The grading has been changed, but other than the additional fill and the regrading of that particular area, there's no specific change to that limit of work area.
Okay, the question is just point out the no disturbance zone signs.
Oh, I'm sorry. You can see those little circles with the boxes around there hatched in red.
Mhm.
So those are located over here. I believe they're 30 feet on center.
Okay, so, but no disturbance zone means no disturbance. So the way that the plants have been sort of grouped, it makes it look like a landscaped area that would have grass in between. And it's something we've discussed with all of the amendments and revisions that have happened on this lot. And I just want to make sure that it's very clear to people that is not a landscaped area. That's supposed to be a restoration area in order to get the waivers. And so the plants should be spread out and up to the no disturbance zone markers so that it looks like a restoration area.
That's a good point.
Do we add it as a condition to the amendment?
You can?
I guess just with the grade change in the no disturbance area, I've some concerns, and I don't know whether or not they're founded, so this is really a question on just ongoing erosion. And I don't know if there's if you can address that, if there's a comment, or if maybe plantings being moved in that direction would in some way mitigate runoff.
So I can tell you that specifically lot 4 and 5, which is 16, this one is 16 and 20, is the one, further down the common drive. Those two have been monitored a lot in the last, I'd say, 6 to 9 to 12 months. There was some comments that Jennifer made last fall about, you know, the silt sock deteriorating. So
Mhm.
between Garrett Tunison, monitoring the wetland restoration area, which is behind lot 5, and, you know, the people that are, you know, Ethan Ekstrom's company that's developing this, you know, repairing the silt sock, they're very aware of this is actually the last lot in the subdivision to be completed. So they're very aware of what's gone on and what, you know, where things stand. So they're constantly diligent about repairing things. If there's erosion, they're taking care of them, and they're looking to kind of complete this one last lot to finish the product, if you will.
And do we have a completed waiver, Jennifer?
We do have a waiver.
Okay. And is the public benefit requirement the plants?
It's the plants and also the fact that when this was approved, I'm gonna guess back in like 2007, lot 4, 5, and 6, there was really no stormwater management systems to speak of, except
Mhm.
perhaps maybe, you know, a leaching pit for each house. But lot 4 and 5 and 6 with the common drive, there was no stormwater facilities really to do any kind of stormwater mitigation other than just basically sheet flow. So lot 5, as you guys remember probably from last year, lot 5, there was a drainage system that was designed for that, which helped mitigate the common drive, and for this one as well, the bioretention area. So those improvements to lot 4 and 5, I would say it'd be a public, you know, a betterment.
Thank you. Any additional comments from the board? Questions?
Those are some really good points you brought up, so I'm pretty happy with what you guys have just brought up.
Any public comment here for 16 Goodspeed? Jennifer, that was, I didn't mean to cut you off. I know I jumped in there. Did you have any additional comments?
No, just that there's grading in the no disturbance zone, but we've already
Yeah.
the grading.
All right, so seeing no public comment, I'm going to do a motion to issue an amendment for 16 Goodspeed Lane, noting the comments that we've just addressed regarding the plantings being interdispersed in a way that fills the no disturbance area.
Benson second,
Carol motion, Benson second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Spady, aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
You too.
You're issuing the amended order of conditions.
Yes. That would have been a better way to make that motion.
Okay, so you close the hearing and is
Yes.
the doing a separate motion or is that together?
Let's revisionist history say that that's together.
That's good. Thank you.
I thought I'd be able to say so moved, but I don't think so.
Yeah, actually, let's just do a separate motion. Motion to close the public hearing on 16 Goodspeed Lane.
Crossman second.
Carol motion, Crossman second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Spady, aye.
Thank you for catching that, Jennifer.
All good. Okay, and a separate motion to issue the amended order of conditions.
Let's fix that too. Motion to issue an amended order of conditions for 16 Goodspeed Lane.
Spady, second.
Carol motion, Spadia second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Spady, aye.
Great.
All right. All right, so let's move on to certificates of compliance. Our first one is 15 Longview Drive.
That's ready for a full certificate of compliance.
Anybody here for 15 Longview? All right, motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 15 Longview Drive.
Spady,
Benson
second.
second,
Carol motion, Benson second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Spady, aye.
Next order of business, request for certificate of compliance, 8 Water Street.
That's also ready for a full certificate of compliance.
Motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 8 Water Street.
Beatty second.
Carol motion, Spady a second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Spady, aye.
Next order of business, 26 Linden Street, request for certificate of compliance.
That's also ready for a full certificate of compliance.
Love it when it goes like this. Motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 26 Linden Street.
Benson, second.
Carol motion, Benson second, roll call vote.
Aye. Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Spady, aye.
Request for certificate of compliance, 530, 550 Turnpike Street.
They've requested a continuance to the 7:15 meeting.
I do just want to say that's about as fast as I've seen someone go from permit to request for COC. So I guess, do I need a motion to continue that?
Yeah.
Might as well. Motion to continue 530, 550 Turnpike Streets, request for certificate of compliance to the next meeting of the Easton Conservation Commission.
Crossman, second.
Carol motion, Crossman second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
And
Spady, aye.
sorry, Mike, as I'm
That's
jumping in, I'm gonna blame this on new baby and sleep deprivation. So our next order of business is 6 Tony Drive, and I did not, it's probably my oversight, see this in the initial binder. I believe I have a conflict here, so I'm gonna ask Mike to just step in for this one.
No,
And we have a quorum without
problem.
me, so I'd rather just be safe than sorry.
So Ben is recusing.
Yes,
That is refusing. All right. So you said it was which one? Where is 6 Tony?
6
6 Tony.
Yeah,
I
sorry.
didn't, I
It
didn't see it
wasn't-
on the thing.
Yeah,
Wasn't on my agenda. I mistakenly forgot to put that on there.
that's the email that we had gotten earlier today.
There was an email, yeah.
Let me pull that up.
So it is for the entire subdivision. We do have as-built plans. It is ready to issue a full certificate of compliance for 6 Tony Drive.
Well, okay, that's easy enough. Make a motion to issue a full certificate of compliance.
Benson, second.
All right, Al the second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Crossman, I.
Spady, aye.
good work, everybody.
There we go.
And I don't know if you need to abstain or not, but I'm writing it down that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually don't either. Anyway. So next one is rescind partial certificate of compliance, a request to rescind the partial certificate of compliance that we issued for 14 Morse Road.
Yes, and the reason you're doing that is because you have to issue a decision within 21 days. Your decision was to issue the partial certificate of compliance dependent on receiving the surety bond, which we did not receive. So you have to rescind the other motion and not issue the partial.
And did we not get the surety bond because it's done?
We did not get the surety bond because they did not desire to do that.
Okay. So motion to rescind partial certificate of compliance for 14 Morse Road.
Benson, second.
Carol motion, Benson second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Spady, aye.
So just so it's clear, when it is ready, they can still come back for a partial certificate or full certificate of compliance. When they're ready, they'll have to reapply for it. Okay.
Moving on to enforcement, let's begin with 6 Alderwood complaint from the DEP.
Yes, sometimes people call DEP instead of the conservation office. DEP just sends it to me. There was a claim that there was dumping beyond a fence. I drove by. I did not fully investigate that though. But that is DEP's complaint and for them to investigate. That's it.
All right, so no actions required from this commission.
No,
All right. Next up is 109 Rockland Street.
correct. The property owner is supposed to remove the fill.
Mhm.
I'm told soon, should be a couple of weeks, and then I will work with him step by step on the restoration.
Easy enough.
Yep.
80 Short Street.
Property owner has installed the plantings that were required. And so that's moving forward.
20 Central Street.
20 Central, I'm gonna promote Karen and Jim.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Karen. How are you?
Very good, thanks. How are you?
Good. Are we waiting for Jim to join? I can see that he's here, but I don't see Mike on.
He may be lurking until Karen
Okay.
finishes.
Totally fine.
So the applicant received an enforcement order for cutting on the rear and the side of the lot. And I stepped in after the NOI was submitted. So at this point, they're requesting a extension for the plantings. They were supposed to plant in the spring. I heard from the project manager that the area was too wet to plant. So that's requesting a extension to plant in the fall. I don't think it would be successful to have them plant now.
Especially
Yeah.
given the weather we've had in the past 2 weeks.
Exactly, yeah.
I can't keep the plants I have alive. Jennifer, do you have comment on this?
Just my only comment is right behind the building is not too wet to have planted. I could see certainly the other area that's in the floodplain, yes, but I'm wondering why the area behind the building was not planted. So maybe Jim could answer that for us.
Did he get on or? Is he on there?
He is on.
Okay.
He's not muted, he's just not answering, as far as I can tell. Now he's muted. Maybe
So
the
while we're waiting for, so
issue
while
with
we
the
are
mic,
waiting for him.
maybe.
So
Okay, so while we're waiting for him, I did want to mention that the rear of the building, I did find some small patches of garlic mustard, which I was very happy to meet Mr. DeStefano there and instruct him on how he can get rid of that
Okay.
before it becomes a real problem. If the commission so desires.
it's a good one to get rid of.
Yeah.
Can you help me understand, if it's too wet to plant, those plants now, in the next spring, will that excess water in the area kill those plants?
I would have to
Back up?
agree with Jennifer. I don't think it's gonna get that wet in the rear.
Yes,
And I can't speak to why it wasn't done before, but we're asking for an extension to plant in the fall. Because early fall is also a good time to plant.
right. I understand that, but next spring, will the water level be such that it will kill the plants that you're planting there? Or is this
I
just
hope-
a,
Yeah, I hope not. I was just looking at the plant list.
The plants selected for the floodplain area should
Should survive.
are selected because they're wetland or floodplain plants.
Okay,
So they
thank
should
you.
be fine with springtime flooding.
thanks.
Hey, Jim, we can see you now. Just wondering if you have an answer for.
Well, I was just, it was wetter than it's ever been, so we can appreciate these boards now. We saw the high water tables that we saw in the previous spring, but the water got so high, it even got up into the offices and ruined some of their computers and equipment into the buildings up into there. So I've never seen, water that high. We've had so many heavy rains that just made it very difficult to get done what we needed to out there. I mean, extremely high. I don't know if you guys noticed it at all, but it was up well over the bottom of the building. So I don't know if there was
Didn't
some
know it was
dredging or something.
in the offices. That's helpful to know. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't say that I saw it there, but we definitely saw some flooding. So I think that's a reasonable explanation for why those plantings weren't done. Any additional, sorry, Jen.
Just, Karen, do you have a date that we can put for the
Yeah.
plantings need to be done by? What's the date?
What, just September 30th work for you, Mr. DeStefano?
Yes, that they give us a perimeter of when we're supposed to install these, and I would like to stick to that perimeter. I don't foresee rain like we had last spring. I mean, it was devastating rain. I've never put so many sump pumps in people's cellar in my whole life, and I've been doing this for a long time, a long, long time, 40 years.
Does September 30th work for you?
That's fine with me, but they do give us a perimeter of time that needs to be their planting seasons, and I will follow and abide by that, weather permitting.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So you do need a motion.
All right, so, trying to think how to word the motion.
It's to revise the enforcement order to require plantings by September 30th, 2024.
So moved.
Spady second.
Spady a second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Spady eye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Have a
Sorry
good
about
night.
the
You too.
Technology difficulties. Lucky I got a young kid in the house could help me. Have a
That's
good
good.
night.
Thanks,
You
Jim.
too.
Bye-bye.
Next up is 24 Summer Street.
We've been waiting a couple meetings for the application to come in. I did ask that the application be submitted before 7:50.
Okay. I think that's reasonable. No motion needed there. Right. 5 Jonathan Drive.
8 Lyman Wheelock. Sorry. I don't know if,
Oh. My mistake there. So next up is 8 Lyman Wheelock.
yes, the trees have been removed from the wetland area. They've been cut up and made into fencing around the property lines. And the plants have been ordered and should be going in this week.
Fantastic.
Good.
80 Goldfinch.
That is the violation that was on conservation land, not on
Yep.
wetland. Property
This
owner
one's
did,
interesting.
property owner did have the property surveyed. The survey stakes were where we expected them to be, and by fall, property owner will be moving the fence and then no more mowing behind the property. So they are, they have been complying.
Okay. So no further action really needed here. Follow up periodically to make sure plans in place.
Correct.
And it's being abided by. All right. So next up is board discussion, and the first is reorganization of the board. Anybody else want to be chair?
Now, Nate had his hand raised.
I thought he was gonna go for it.
So if you guys will have me, I'm willing to remain on as chair for another term.
Sold. So moved.
Someone's got to make the motion, and I'd rather not make it.
To make Ben Carroll chair once again. Can I get a motion or second?
Crossman, second.
There we go. Get a roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I,
Crossman, I.
Spady eye.
and you're stuck with me.
Good.
Way to go.
That's good. Okay, vice chair.
And Mike, I assume you're still interested in being vice chair.
Happy to be vice chair.
Okay.
Second.
But yeah, let's call the motion. Let's do a roll call.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Spady eye.
That's all we had to do for reorganization, right, Jen?
Correct.
All right.
Too easy.
Probably, I think one of my favorite things we've done so far is this rodenticide letter. Has everybody seen this? So we're approached by an organization that is, I think, really just trying to highlight the rodenticide traps that are being used.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
I don't know what extent they're being used by public utilities, by the town in Easton, or even by private residences. I know like restaurants will tell you it's hard not to use them. and I think the letter's just really good at somewhat dramatically showing awareness, raising awareness for the effects. So what happens oftentimes with the rodenticide is the poison rodents run off, they get eaten by birds of prey or other predators, and it results in a pretty horrific, debilitating death for those animals. And I think there are other, I'm certainly not an animal control expert, but there are other more humane ways to deal with rodent problems. So I think what we're in the process of doing is trying to send a letter from the commission around town to other departments, advising of that situation and just making people aware. One thing that I personally don't want to do, but I'm open to other board members' positions on this, is I don't want to try to create a rule that says they can't be used. I just would like, at a minimum, town departments to try not to use them and to at least understand when they're using them, what the impacts are.
Totally agree with that. I think that's a big misconception with all these bird traps, or sorry, mice traps. Is they just don't know what the next step is. It's always kind of forgotten. So
Yeah, and I think we also wouldn't be right. Like if someone wanted to create a rule that restaurants in town couldn't use these and stuff like that, I think that would have to come from the Board of Health and not us. But I think something to other departments saying, this is something that we care about, and just be aware that this is the effect of using them. So let's not use them on any town projects is a step in the right direction.
agreed.
Agreed.
So that's the residence letter. Do you want me to draft the letter so you see it first before we send it up?
I would like that.
Okay.
And maybe a social media post wouldn't be.
Yep.
Would not hurt.
I sort of have it drafted, but I can't quite figure out Canva very well. I'll keep working on it.
Yeah, I think a social media post would be good, but again, like I think I also just don't want people thinking that we're trying to create a rule that says you can't use these in your homes, although I would very much like people not to use them in their homes.
Just education.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's exactly right. Thank you.
Okay. Got it.
So conservation project list.
Al pointed out that the list I did not have updated to say Tufts Farm was for all of the buildings. And it still just said fencing, I think, right? Fencing and windows. So I've corrected that on the updated list. So thank you, Al.
Good point.
Wheaton Farm barn repairs, where we have structural drawings. We're getting very close to being able to go out to bid. CPC approved some funding for us to be able to go to phase 2 design work while the construction's going on, so we can keep momentum going and not have to come back. Not have to wait a year in between the 2 projects. So that's
Fantastic.
I've submitted 4 CPC grant letters, 1 for Tufts Farm, 1 for Wheaton Farm Barn, as we just discussed, the 107 Chestnut Street purchase. And then residents had approached me about a concern over pond eutrophication. And so I contacted a company. They came up with an estimate for doing an evaluation of the 4 ponds that the Conservation Commission manages and recommendations. I've applied for, well, residents have applied for a CPC grant application to include whatever treatment is recommended for next year. I've also applied for $5,000 grant from Taunton River Stewardship Council. We'll hear about that possibly before the next meeting.
So question there on the pond management. I assume we'll have to have some public hearings before we go forward with the proposal.
Well, it definitely requires wetland permits to be able to do it anyway, but
Okay.
yeah, this is just for an evaluation. So an appropriate company is going to go to all of the ponds, identify the invasive species, do the mapping that shows where it is, what percentage of the pond has the invasive plants, come up with recommendations for the future. I mean, if we're talking about restoration of habitat, we really need to include a discussion about whether or not the dams should remain. if they can be removed, that is the actual restoration of the stream. The dams are not needed anymore.
So
Whether-
I would love to
Whether that's
know,
practical or not is a whole discussion, but if we're gonna talk about restoration, we do need to include the potential for removal of dams.
I would love to know a lot more about all of that.
Yes, yeah,
And
this
I-
is only the beginning. It's
Yeah.
gonna be a long discussion with
So-
many,
so
many people
We're
involved.
starting with a survey. We're starting with a
Okay.
survey.
We're
Great
on
place to
step
start.
one. Step one, and those residents that are around New Pond, they're gonna be on the 7:15 agenda to have a discussion with you, just because they brought it to our attention. I suggested they quick get on the CPC agenda before the closing of the date to submit an application. But they're really hoping, since it's conservation property, that the Conservation Commission will take that over. So we'll have them on the next meeting just for a discussion, to see where everybody pretty much stands on that.
Great idea.
So that's it for CPC grants. And Al, do you have anything to add to that?
No, not on that.
Okay,
Oh, just one quick one. We'd like to set up a time when the gentleman who is an expert on the chestnut trees can come in and give a brief, overview presentation on chestnut potential growth in Easton. So if the commission would like to hear that, I'll be willing to set it up. Should take about no more than a half an hour.
I would love to hear that.
we got about 4 to 5 new projects today for the next meeting. Some of them are pretty big, and we have some continuances that are pretty big, so I might suggest an August meeting. And I think Dominic's
Early
away.
August?
Sometime in August.
How about early August? Would that be acceptable?
August 5th is,
Okay, let me try to set that up with him. I have a scheduling problem for the meeting late August.
Okay. Thank you, Al. Okay, we're up to minutes.
All right, Al, you're kind of up here.
Okay.
CPC in minutes.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minute meetings from April 29th and May 13th as amended, and the executive session meeting minutes for June 26th, 2023.
Carol second. Benson motion, Carol second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman,
Spade, aye.
So I think we kind of wrapped the 2-minute items into one.
Yeah.
So we're on to chair updates, and I'd said I'd show baby photos, but this specific computer doesn't have baby photos on it yet, so we're gonna have to move that to next meeting. Which sounds like it'll be a busy meeting, so I'm sure you'll love seeing photos of my daughter at the end for, yeah, I'll keep you on for like 40, 50 minutes, just talking about how awesome she is, but she was,
Congratulations.
thank you so much.
congratulations.
Second daughter, born June 9th, which is also my wife and I's anniversary, and phenomenal. Just great. She's doing awesome.
Wow,
Excellent.
that's wonderful.
Excellent.
Good
Very
stuff.
good.
So now follow that, Jen, with your environmental planner updates.
Well, I don't know how I can follow that. We do have a potential land donation on Union Street. It'll be on the north side of Union and back up to some conservation property in the north, I believe. So just there's nothing you need to do for that. It's just a potential where the property owner sent the letter. I gave them a copy of the model deed and the procedure. So when we get back other information, I will keep you posted.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And what I thought was going to be a big meeting, like a longer meeting than it was. Any pertinent item not reasonably anticipated by the chair. All right, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Carol motion.
Three-way tie.
I'm giving it to all three of you for second roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman,
Spade, aye.
Okay, nice
Thank you,
job,
everyone.
everyone.
Have a good
Night,
night, guys.
folks.
Good job.
See you soon.
Bye.